Good morning. My name's Glenn and welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a fish tour this morning through my fish room. I built this when I was actually 74. It was just 2 years ago. Actually, it was a little less than 2 years. I didn't get in it till probably November of 2024. I didn't spend a lot of time building it. It's pretty simple, just 2x6s for the walls, the rafters, and then threw up texture 111 on part of the outside, and then just chipboard on the rest of it. Just your OSB board, cheapest stuff. And I put 6 inches of insulation all around it to make it a little easier to heat and spend a little less on cooling too, because you have to keep it, it's tropical fish, so you have to keep the temperature in the upper 70s, low 80s. I dropped my temperature a little bit. It's just been getting too warm in here, and that gets algae growing. I dropped it down to 79, see how that's going to go. Anyway, let's get started. Here's the first tank. It's a bunch of swordtails. They're ready to go. They're fully developed, and I wanted to keep a pair, and if you can tell, every one of them's a male. Next tank is some corridors. There's just a few in this tank. I'm growing out, give them a little extra room, and a couple of mystery snails. And of course, you always have snails in tanks. If you have one, you're going to have thousands in no time. This tank is about the same thing. A couple of mystery snails and some corridors. And now we're up to a shrimp tank. This has some blue shrimp in it. Hard to see them. I do feed squash, cucumbers, whatever. They enjoy that kind of stuff. They're the blue shrimp. This tank is a little bit cloudy. The shrimp in here, probably need to do a water change. A lot of snails too. There's quite a few blues in here, but like I said, it's just hard to see them. And then moving down to the lower tank, got some guppies in here with some, of course, there's corridors in most of the tanks. Over here, there's some rainbow fish, blue-eyed. I'm not sure what their names are. They're just not really doing anything with them. They're just there. There's a couple swordtails in here, and they're just not doing real well. I think it's the quality of fish. I picked them up at PetSmart, which isn't smart. This is my breeding group of cories for the yellows. And there's a few more over here. Some of the tanks are a little bit cloudy. I'll do a water change. But it's this time of the year, it's a little bit warm. Here's a tank. As you can see, there's quite a bit of algae on this tank. I haven't cleaned it. But these are grow out tanks. They aren't display tanks. It's a little bit different. There's some more, they're albinos and yellows. This tank has a bunch of the Venezuelan orange, which of course always seem to stay hid. I lift a filter that will get them moving. There's quite a few in here. I'm not sure how many. There's also some gold lasers. This lower tank, this has a bunch of CBDs, celestial pearl danios, and they like to hide too. Well, I'm hoping there's a few in here. Yeah, they're coming out more. But they haven't been breeding. It's just too warm. They like cooler weather. This tank is some orange Rileys mainly. I see a couple blues in there. Need to get them out. And I like plants. You got to have plants if you're going to have shrimp. Next tank is those were 20 longs. The first tanks were 10 gallon. This tank is a 29 gallon, and there's some squash in the bottom. Shrimp like them, snails like it. There's quite a few Rileys in here. The orange Rileys, I'm sure there are a lot more than you can see. There's usually several hundred in a tank like this. Anyway, there's lots of them in here. I've sold hundreds of them. I've given away hundreds, and I still have hundreds of them. They do really well. Up here are some black Venezuelans. I haven't had any luck getting eggs that would hatch, that were fertile. and there's a couple of the green emeralds. And there's just some odds and ends, mainly albinos in here. They're just excess fish. There's a few others in here, I'm not sure what all, but. And then jumping down to a 65-gallon, which is mainly guppies, and they're hungry. What they like, let me get some of the Tubiflex worms. They love those. Sorry for the moving around, but they love, I just push it to the, gently, well, firm. You have to put it, and they love that stuff. They will eat it. There's also a couple of plecos in here. I'm not sure what variety I picked up at a trade show, and they like the squash also, and the snails. And they love that. Tubiflex worms. If you aren't feeding it, it's a good thing to feed, especially, any fish love it, but the guppies especially. I've fed it to cories too. You put it down low in the tank, and they love it. Moving on, this tank, this is a row of 20-gallon high. There's shrimp in this one, some blues. I've got 4 tanks with blues in it. You don't want them all in one tank when you're raising stuff like that. There's some Galaxy Blue guppies. They're doing quite well. I need to move some of them. And here are some the metal blues. And there are a bunch of snails on that squash. And here's how you remove them from the tank. You reach in and you pick it up. And it's one way to get rid of some snails. And I'll dump it in this pail over here. And the squash I threw away, it was getting really mushy. If you aren't careful, you'll end up with a tank full of cloudy water. Here's some metal blacks. They've been slow going. They're finally building up to a decent sized number. But they're the metal blacks. They have that metal look on the sides of their heads. And moving on, this tank, I had a lot of snails, but they're mostly gone. I've sold out a little bit too heavy. I'm trying to get them to lay some more eggs. Of course, there's not much you can do. Now, for some reason, in this tank, and this tank has some blue shrimp in it also, and snails. And the snails, for some reason, won't eat the squash. I don't know why, but they don't. They're on the handle, they're all over, but not on the shrimp. Same shrimp, I mean the same squash. There's some more cories. There's a few guppies in here that I've put a couple strains together just to see what happens. And some more cories, of course. And then moving on to the 55-gallon. This tank I have, obviously to breed, but it's also my show tank. It has lots of plants growing in it. There's no CO2, and I forget usually to even fertilize it. I do have one small filter hanging on the back, a sponge filter in the corning, and I have a bigger canister which leaks, which is why it's on this tank, and I plug it in for an hour or 2 every day, and that seems to take care of it. Now there's guppies, of course, in here. And there are cories, which I haven't fed yet, so they haven't come out. I got the CW215, or 217s, I should say, the half orange, which I really enjoy. And there's some Equest cories, as you can see, one swimming around there. There's, I think, about 5 of each breed. And the old one is also pygmy cories, if you can find them. It's my problem with a 55, everything gets lost. And there's about 10 of the pygmies, but again, I haven't fed, so they haven't been coming out. And then moving up to the final rack, a lot of grow out cories in these tanks. This tank is empty, waiting for eggs to put in it. Here's a tank with, this is very small cories in this tank, which you can't see, very rare. They're really small when they hatch out. Now here's a tank that I've been struggling to try and clear. There's not a lot of cories in it, just 4 or 5, but it will not clear. I've done a couple of 50% water changes, but you don't want to overdo it with water changes, because that's the worst thing you can do. You lose your cycle, and then it'll even be worse. But it will eventually clear. There goes a little gold laser that I'm growing out. There's a couple of those in there. And a couple of albinos. And getting back to my air conditioner is right here. It's just a simple one that I picked up. I think it's 10,000 BTU, and it does the job quite well. Actually, I got it at Aldi's last year. It was fairly inexpensive. I have a water system, which is the RO, which I run into a tank and then mineralize it. And what do I use for minerals? The cheapest thing you can get for large volume is this brand. But anyway, I also have some Secum. What's this one? This one is, of course, just your simple replenish, but it costs a whole lot more to use. But it works fine. So anyway, I do that, and then I have just a small pump in the bottom of the garbage can, and I'll use that to put the water into the tanks. And it's nice to have the fish room, because I don't always pay attention, and all of a sudden you'll hear water running on the floor because it runs over. And I just use a simple siphon system which hangs in the corner. And of course it looks terrible, the hose. It's all black from from the water being wet all the time, but I don't care. It's only use it to get water out of the tanks and never to fill. Anyway, that is my fish room. I should probably turn on the light. Add some light here. Oh, my final tank is another 65-gallon acrylic. The tank, it's not cloudy water, it's cloudy acrylic. The tank was given to me because it wasn't any good anymore to use. But obviously I have a lot of cories in there, and I sell a lot of them. Anyway, that's pretty much it. A couple of the stands that I built, 55, the 29. And I have a tank in the house. If I get around to it, I'll do a little video on that. It's my 125, and that's my show tank in the house, which I always wanted a big tank. I started with a 5-gallon tank, and well, you know what happens. You go from 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 55, and then I said to my wife, I wish I would have just went with a 125, my dream tank. And she goes, well, why don't you just get it and get it over with? So I did. Anyway, and I did have 3 rows of tanks. As you can see, there are only 2 now. My little backup generator in case I need it. There's no way getting down there and handling tanks on the floor almost. At 76, it's easy to get down, but it's hard to get back up. And there's plenty of tanks. I think there's like 35 tanks in here altogether. So anyway, so that's pretty much my fish room. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And let's move on. I'm going to go out and do a video in the garden just to walk through. The weather's in the upper 90s right now, and it's really hard on the garden. So anyway, stand by and we'll jump out there shortly. So let's head out. I'm done feeding fish. It's only been 2 minutes, but it doesn't take very long. And we'll walk out to the garden through my old barn, and then I'll show you some of our flowers. Everything's kind of stressed this time of the year, so let me switch my camera around the other direction. Here's some candle lilies and clematis, some roses, obviously with a big weed coming up through it, which we will attempt to pull out. Anyway, I have to dig that one out. That is big. But yeah. Anyway, some more roses, landscape roses. They're just simple roses, and they're stressed with the heat. Some garden phlox, some glads, which are getting over with. Some lantana, which hasn't been blooming very long. It should really take off now that we've got different weather. Some kiwi vines. Here's some grapes. Now these are just a very small grape. They're a nice sweet grape. and it just hangs full of them. And they're only a little bit bigger than a large pea. I mean, they're just a really small grape, but I just grab them by the cluster and eat them. Some persimmons. I love persimmons, and I grew several trees. This is, I think, 3 years old, and there's a lot of persimmons on it. It's hard to tell, but there's probably 30 or 40 on that tree. Some little trees that I planted this year. I planted 3 more of them. Here's a apple tree with 4 whole apples on it. I forget what variety it is. Got it at the Tractor Supply. And it doesn't really tell you much, just, yeah. Anyway, it's apple. Plum tree, no plums this year. We had a late frost, and which happens. Another apple tree, I'm not sure the variety of this one either. It's been planted years ago. And several apples, not a huge crop, but there's probably 50 apples on it. And a couple small plum trees that we started last year, and they're doing quite well. Some red raspberries we planted this year, well, actually it was last fall, and some pecan trees in this area. This used to be all pine trees. There was probably 30 pine trees in this area, and we had a couple bad storms, a tornado that touched down that put a path through it, flattened them, and weakened a lot of them, so we ended up getting rid of all of them, and we planted tea olives around the border and some blueberries. And this big old tree here, it's live oak, or not live oak, I guess, water oak, river oak they call it. It's an aggressive grower, more of a weed than anything. It's at the base, it's 6, if it was cut off, the stump would be 6 foot across. There was another one down there. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. That's 6 foot across by our mailbox. And the neighbor's cattle across the road. And moving on, there's a wagon that we have out on, and we have flowers planted in that. There's some verbena and salvia, different things. There's some petunias on the other side, vinca, and some tiger lilies, and a big lantana here. It's a really big bush. It's been here several years, and it's about 6 foot across and 8 foot the other direction. And a lemon tree. They produce some really nice Myers lemons in the fall. Some rose bushes that we planted. Petunias in a tub. My wife cut them back. They'll get down to the ground in another few weeks. Our outdoor patio area that came from Tractor Supply. What a job that was to put up. Box was 4 foot by 8 foot and about 6-8 inches deep, and all of it was in that box. But anyway, it wasn't too bad to put together. I only needed help to join the 2 ends across the top, way up. My wife's shade garden, her greenhouse. There's not a lot in it. We had some beans in there, but they didn't do very well. We have some cucumbers started, that's about it. And then getting into the main garden, flowers in the front. Well, some stargazer lilies, they are just huge. Mandevilla. You're probably wondering why a mailbox in a garden. Well, my wife stores her tools in that, and they're readily available. Some zinnias. And this grapevine we planted a little over a year ago in the spring, last year, and it is just loaded with grapes. I mean, look at these things, it's huge. And they're starting to ripen. We're getting quite a few ripe grapes you can pick. They're quite sweet. Hard to see in here, but different variety on the other side. I'm not sure what color they're going to be, but they're still all green, but you can tell from one side to the other. But anyway, it just is just loaded I don't know why that leaf is brown, but it is. And then on the other side here, there are some string beans, some yellow pole beans. They need to be picked again. I think it's about done. And there's cucumbers. Oh yeah, there's some cucumbers. A few of them. And there's some, what is it, trombolini, something like that, squash growing. And the little ones, they're great for frying, like you would a summer squash, your zucchini and yellow squash. And they also are, they're a winter squash variety. We're letting this one go and see what happens. They're supposed to be like acorn squash when they ripen, the flavor of them. So we're curious to see how that works. It had been really producing heavy. There's quite a few coming, small ones, but anyway, it should produce for a long time, and it goes over top of the arbor and down the other side. Tomatoes. This is a yellow variety. Lemon Boy, I think. Some Sun Sugar yellow tomatoes, the cherries, and they are doing really well. Again, you can't, once they get started, it's hard to keep up with them. They ripen so many. I think this one is just a celebrity. They just picked, my wife picked them not long ago. I think that's a celebrity. And then there's some peppers. There's 3 of them in that cattle fence, 2 that are hot. One, I don't know the variety. One's poblano. It's not very hot, but it's a nice taste and fry it with zucchini and stuff. And then there's just a regular red bell pepper. Some strawberries, which need some attention. Some sunflowers, which we're leaving for the birds. And here's some muscadine grapes. And there are some muscadines growing here. I don't know. Yeah, there's quite a few. Just hard to see them. They won't ripen until late fall. Some tomatoes we're trying in tubs. A lot of celebrities. What are they called? Celebrity Plus. They're supposed to be better disease resistant. Another muscadine grape. Quite a few grapes on that one too. And then some gourds. I think that's cucumbers started there. And one gourd. And I think this one's also a gourd. My wife thought she planted some squash, but I think she got the wrong packet. Oh, and figs. We have figs. This is a yellow fig. I don't know the variety. This is just your normal brown, but I'm not sure the variety. I can't think. Anyway, this produces quite well. And I cut these back to about 2 foot every winter, and then let them go, and that's a good 8 foot up to the top of this one. And this variety my wife planted a couple of years ago, and it's just not doing very well. And this is at least the 2nd year, and there's no fruit on it for some reason. This is a pomegranate. I don't know how it'll do, but I just wanted to try it. My wife wanted a peach tree. I've tried peach trees years ago, and they just don't do well. I think she has 2 peaches, so if they ripen, we may get a taste. It's hard to tell. Anyway, some blueberries and that. Oh, and there's a pawpaw tree right there. And this is going to be its pollinator. It has blooms every year, but never get to pollinate because obviously no pollinator. So I'm anxious to see how that does. So anyway, I have to water. I'm not going to take you along for that. It's not very exciting. But there's some marigolds not getting enough light. Some stargazers coming out into the yard. My chipmunk trap, which isn't set right now because I'm not sure where their holes are. And if you can't find the holes, it's hard to trap them. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Some elephant ears, some other rose. And we're back in the beginning. There's the old the old barn. It was here many, many years. It used to be a large farm, and it got all split up when the guy that owned it died many years ago, and it's all developed. Some of it's in small sections. We have 2 acres. And then the development on it, and across the road, not far from here, don't think you can see it from here, we have a high school, and for about 15 minutes in the morning and night, it's just a huge amount of traffic. But it's not too far, but you can't really, you can just barely see it. If I get into the open, I will show it to you. Yeah, again, can't see much of it. Anyway, and here we are. It's we love it here. It's a beautiful area. Not a lot of houses too close, but the area is changing. Seneca, South Carolina is growing by leaps and bounds. Greenville is exploding too. It's just the way it is. There's just so much work down here. And of course your factories love it because taxes are good here compared to a lot of the states. Anyway, have a great day, and hope you enjoy it. I've enjoyed doing it, and have a great day, and God bless. The area is changing. Seneca, South Carolina is growing by leaps and bounds. Greenville is exploding too. It's just the way it is. There's just so much work down here. And of course your factories love it because taxes are good here compared to a lot of the states. Anyway, have a great day, and hope you enjoy it. I've enjoyed doing it, and have a great day, and God bless.